Hello there. Yeah, I'm gonna crack open the TP. Yeah, yeah, yep, years ago I watched some of it. I watched all the Battle Frontier. No. Mm, mm, yeah, dude. Yeah,
I forgot to turn my mic on. So in case
it's
any of you are
quite a
missing,
thing.
pardon? I'm just to say that again. Anyway, in case you haven't heard
Right.
anything in the past units, basically, TLDR, this is the first generation that me and Rebel have actually experienced. We watched the animes for this. I used to watch on Sky One. Rebel kind of started watching Battle Frontier stuff, and Hoenn alone, going alone. It's a nice little reference, and this is very comparable to Sword and Shield. It's a good thing I noticed that before we got like half an hour in. I would have been pretty mad.
Still there, Joe?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, so
Yeah, because I literally just turned myself off on the stream again.
yeah, you muted. I was like, where has he gone?
Yeah, like you could hear me on the stream, but you couldn't hear me in like here.
All right.
It's because they're both set to the same one. I'm stupid when it comes to that. But yeah, this is genuinely like when I got my Game Boy Advance, I got Ruby, and I was
I
so
had
pumped.
Sapphire.
Mm,
It was my first game.
like ever.
On a con, no, I had a GameCube before it, but it was like the first handheld that I was something that was new for me because I did have my uncle's Game Boy before that,
Mhm.
but this was like the first time that I got a handheld for myself that wasn't a hand me down.
Yeah, same here. Like I got the Game Boy Advance SP. Good, that is a fantastic console, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Handheld.
same.
The original Game Boy Advance is okay.
It's only okay now because you can get a mod to put in a backlight.
Oh, I need to. I actually am intending to like buy one of those like specially made ones.
Yeah, so am I.
But then,
One of the ones that have the USB charging and stuff.
mm, but then at the same time, I'm just like, because I have the Game Boy player, I may as well
Mm.
just use that instead. Really.
Yeah, I've got a Game Boy player as well, so it's
Mm.
kind of a bit.
Yeah, I think I need to check the disc for mine because I dropped it down the back of my radiator. But I'm like, honestly, GameCube discs are kind of indestructible. It feels like.
Mm.
Because it's back in
They
the
do
era
try
where
that.
it's back in the era when things were actually unbreakable.
Yeah, dude.
Like genuinely, like PS. Does your PS? My PS2 is still the same one from 2003 that I got.
I
That
still
chunky
have
boy.
my one I still have my original one. It does still work, but the disc tray is a little funny. I have to put stuff on top of it.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me like to hold it down or something.
Yeah,
Because when the disc tray like randomly open,
yeah.
that's quite strange. But yeah, like Gen 3's a turning point, and I remember going to the shop that day with my mum because we pre-ordered a game, picking it up. I actually lost my first copy of Ruby as well, which is kind of ironic. I lost it at my nan's house. I've never found it.
How could you do that?
I don't know. But what upset me is I'd put like 200 hours into that one.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. And I went and put another 80 hours into a second copy.
Of course you did. You have to. You have to do it.
It's painful when you lose a file, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're like losing months and months, like summer vacations and stuff. So,
Losing everything.
who did you pick the first time? If you remember.
Torchic.
Torchic, okay. Like, I'm actually, okay, I'm genuinely normally a Torchic guy and Torchic guy only. But I think Gen 3 has a really solid set of starters.
It does.
Like, I would argue Sceptile's the worst of the three, but the difference, like when we looked at Gen 1's close-ish, but I don't want to use Venusaur ever. I just don't care. With it, when in Gen 2, it's objectively bad to take Chikorita.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's just like, nah, they're all fun. They're all pretty cool.
They're all fine to use.
Yeah, and they have actually cool designs as well, like in my opinion. Sceptile looks pretty cool. Blaziken looks pretty cool. Swampert even looks alright.
Swampert bodies the game.
So my first time I actually used Swampert. And I hate myself because I actually remember. You know the nickname guy in Slateport?
Yeah.
I renamed mine Swanpert. Like N, into the M. And I was like, why did I do that? It's really weird. But it's fun times.
I actually still kind of remember the first team that I ever had in my Sapphire version. I don't have the save file on that Sapphire anymore.
Yeah.
But the first team I ever had was Blaziken. It was Blaziken, Machoke, Kecleon, Crobat, and something out, and Tentacle or something. I think it was.
Yeah, seeing as this is like the first Pokemon game for me, like, you don't know what to build. You just build whatever the fuck you see.
Yeah.
Sorry, fuck, I didn't mean to say that. Heck.
Heck.
Sorry for the parental guidance. My stream is an 18 plus. Haha. Yeah. Because I obviously, because you don't struggle on Pokemon games nowadays at all, do you?
No.
Like, the only time I struggle is when it's the game's genuinely just like having a slapping contest with you, like in Gen 7, you have Ultra Cosmos, like that can slap you. Everyone goes on.
That thing does slap you.
Yeah, and like Gen, obviously people go on like Gen 8 with I don't remember the name of it. Is that the legendary? You know, the one you catch in the story.
You mean Eternatus?
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's really tough. I'm like, it's a raid battle. It's not.
It's not, because you have two Pokemon there that just kill it for you.
Yeah, it's basically a tutorial for raids. But yeah, I remember genuinely finding Gen 3 tough the first time. Like, I can't find it tough anymore because I know the ins and outs of it. But if you don't, it is kind of a challenging game.
Yeah, Steven body issue.
God, yeah, it's his Skarmory. His team is just fast. Outside of does he have an Aggron?
Yes.
Obviously, Aggron's a slow Pokemon, but like outside of that, he had like Skarmory, Metagross. Metagross was ridiculous.
He has Skarmory, Metagross, Armaldo, Cradily, Aggron.
And one other then. What the hell's the other one?
No, it's Metagross.
Yep. Skarmory.
Metagross, Skarmory.
The two
Armaldo,
fossils.
Cradily, Aggron.
That's 5.
I think you only have 5.
No, you must have 6.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, you.
Because I'm interested.
Yeah, it's gonna be a random vast Pokemon.
Yeah, it's gonna be a random Pokemon that I'm not even gonna think of. Claydol, that's it. No wonder I didn't think of it.
Oh, of course, because it's not steel. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, neither is the Cradily or Armaldo.
I thought Armado is, or is it Bug Rock?
It's Bug Rock.
That'd be it. Yeah. Yeah, Steven was. These, and if you walk in there with Blaziken, you kind of stomp them, but
Yeah, he's
they can,
actually pretty. He's actually probably one of the harder um
champions.
champions. Not as he's not as hard as
Cynthia.
Platinum's one.
I found Cynthia so hard, like because I know
Mm.
when I played that last year for Platinum, I basically sat there with God, what Pokemon was it? It must have been my Empoleon. It had to be Empoleon, but like I sat there with Empoleon just. It's your Platinum. Cynthia's the only time I've basically used specials to the max.
Yeah,
Sorry, special X items to the max. I was like, I had to. I genuinely had to there.
yeah, she's genuinely hard.
Like I would say, honestly, I would say the second hardest is probably Blue, and then Steven.
I think Steven's harder than Blue, in my opinion,
That's fair.
because obviously in Gen 1 and Fire and Leaf Green, obviously, you can easily find counters to all of his stuff.
Yeah, and it's the same team you've been fighting throughout the game, more or less.
Yeah, it is basically the same team, so you know what's coming.
But I just find that Steven's team is actually just for steel types and most of the it's pretty good still. Skarmory,
Yeah.
his Skarmory is fast, so it usually gets the spikes out on you.
Yeah.
Is it toxic
Skarmory's-
spike?
It's just spikes. Toxic
Okay.
spikes weren't introduced until Gen 4.
Okay,
But
yeah.
yeah, Skarmory's the one you want to kill fast.
Hmm.
The rest of them you can deal with as they come, but spikes more of a problem than anything.
Yeah, and obviously at that point in the game, you've never seen a Metagross before.
Yeah.
Like it's the first time you see one. You don't even see Beldum or Metang.
No, you never see Beldum or Matang. It literally throws a Metagross straight at you.
And you're just like, and it's strong. Like, his team is in the low 60s, isn't it?
High 50s.
Okay, so he's not like super high, but he's
No.
not like super low.
No, he isn't like Cynthia throwing the fucking 68 Garchomp at you.
God, that's terrifying. But yeah,
Yeah, that's a terrifying thing to face.
but there's also just other points in the game. There's actually genuine walls in Ruby and Sapphire. Emerald, I think Emerald was a lot easier just because there's more trainers, so you can
The
get more experience.
hardest part of Emerald, outside of the stuff outside of the same stuff in Ruby and Sapphire, the champion's definitely easier. Wallace has a
Yes.
much easier team to counter, but the Rival 2 fight is actually genuinely one of the hardest fights.
It,
Just because of how varied the team is for you to have to deal with.
yeah, I think
And it's obviously different with every starter choice as well.
I think the thing with May 2 is that it's just I don't know. I just think Gen 3 is one of those ones that if you don't go prepared, you're in danger. In
Yeah,
general.
Gen 3 is very much you need to be prepared for this kind of gen.
Obviously, the more you
And
play it, like
grinding is very much something that you have to do in Gen 3.
yeah, it's one of the few Pokemon games that you actually kind of need to grind during the middle of the game because
Yeah.
it's not even a stat thing. It's just you need to like have moves
Yeah.
because moves really matter in this game. It's like if you have the move that you want, you're done. Like you're fine.
Yeah.
Because stat wise, it's like doesn't matter that much. Obviously,
Yeah.
the RPG mechanic of like stats in general does matter, but like it's not the fundamental thing. In his case, it's like for me, it was always Blaziken. Once I got Blaziken's moveset, I'm fine.
Yeah.
The Pokemon in these games don't matter, it's the moveset because Gen 3 had a lot of good moves. But that's because
Yeah.
it's more this whole game kind of scrapped to Gen 1 and Gen 2's battle style and just went IVs, EVs and so on and so on. It became a lot more in depth. We had double
Yeah.
battles. Like that is a big thing, double battles. That's still around. It's the only newer format that's actually stayed.
Yeah.
We've had triple battles and rotation battles since. We've had loads of gimmicky things. We've had variants and battle frontiers and so on, but double battles have stuck the test of time, and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gen 3 has some things that stand out in terms of how it works, because I don't remember which gen it is, which way it goes around, but in Gen 3, like, if you did surf, it won't hurt you. Your teammate will it.
Yes. No. That. Yeah. No. That. Yeah. No. That was Gen 3. they changed it in Gen 4 because Surf was pretty busted
Same for Earthquake or something.
in like the VGC style stuff where
Mm.
they had 2-on-2 for the tournaments. Surf was busted because it didn't attack your party member,
Mhm.
even though it should. Now I think Body Water still doesn't attack your party member if I remember correctly.
Earthquake definitely does now.
Earthquake always did.
Okay. Yeah, and this is also the game. Okay, the one thing I loved in Emerald was that out of all everything, you know they're quote unquote random double battles where two random trainers would like cross
Yes, I
look.
like that where they would just kind of both lock onto you.
It was cute
And you
because
could deal with them separately, but at the same time, you could deal with them as one
mm,
fight as well. So it gave you options to kind of
yeah, because
like decide how you want to approach your route.
a lot of the battles double battles in this game were static. Obviously, in Ruby and Sapphire, they're
Yes.
static as hell, and doesn't mean they're bad. They're very good, and obviously they introduced a lot of moves to kind of help with that, like helping hand and so on.
Yeah.
And it just gave it was really good, and you really
Yeah.
the game that brings out the double battle mechanics and really emphasizes how enjoyable it is and why it became so popular will be the GameCube games that came out in this gen. Because Gen 3
Yeah.
is a big generation. We've, as I mentioned when I was muted, Gen 3 stuck around for 4 years, and that along with Gen 4 is the longest generation we've ever had in terms
Yeah.
of like actual content. Because it was every year we'd have content. It wasn't just like, oh cool, Gen 2 came out and you wait for Stadium and then move on. This came out at a wonderful time. But
Yeah. It came out. So we had, what was it? Ruby and Sapphire, Colosseum, Emerald. Then it was no. So it was Ruby and Sapphire, Colosseum, Fire Red Leaf Green,
XD.
Emerald, then XD, right? Because XD could connect with Emerald if I remember correctly.
XD could do all of them.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it came out after Emerald.
Colosseum could do all of them, but it would
I
do the
think Colosseum
thing.
could only do Ruby Sapphire. I think it could only do Ruby and Sapphire.
I think it can do Emerald because I think what the game does, it goes, this is Ruby Sapphire region because it gives you the red character. Yeah, you know how obviously in Emerald they
Yeah.
changed it to be green. They just gave you the red one.
Okay, so it might do it then.
I might be misremembering, but like that was wonderful. So I think the best way to start this is obviously because I think we know Hoenn quite well. We just go through it piece by piece because it's a big region, the biggest region out of all of them. I feel.
Probably one of the biggest ones.
I would potentially feel like Gen 7 is a bigger.
Gen 7 is bigger, but not in the same way that Gen 3 is big, if that makes sense.
No, it's because there's more walking to A to B, and there's more depth in Hoenn. And I would say Gen 4, Gen 4 is close in terms of size. I think
Yeah.
maybe not as big because there's a lot of small routes in Gen 4 that people do forget about. Whereas Gen 3, pretty big. And that was the thing, because Gen 2 improved in every way from Gen 1, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Gen 3 is very mixed, because obviously it went from Game Boy Color to Game Boy Advance. And hence you couldn't transfer with those, because they changed the whole system up as well.
Yeah, they were thinking that Gen 2 was going to be the last game, so they didn't.
Future-proof it.
There wasn't really any way to future-proof it.
No, and this is a very similar thing to, Gen 8. Like, how do you deal with this? And I know it's if this happened now, people would be saying it's scummy to make mobile games like this. But I'm sitting there like, no, if you're gonna make us have, because here's the thing, the data for all the Pokemon was actually in Ruby and Sapphire.
Yes, it was.
And they had different they had different sprites as well. So that they had an Emerald.
Yeah, they do.
So you can tell you can tell that they were trying. They were at least trying to put them all in there.
Yeah, because the only reason why they made Colosseum and XD is to add in all the Pokemon that they couldn't add in before.
So obviously, it obviously was. They're obviously conscious of like making a game that was big enough because Hoenn's, like I said, Hoenn's huge and Ubisoft and Emerald are huge themselves, and it's just I think even with it's a game that feels big even without having the cut Pokemon.
Yes.
Because if you said to me now a Pokemon game had 200 Pokemon in it, I think it's tiny. Like the norm has obviously gotten bigger, but like for Gen 2, for Gen 3 it made sense. And same for Gen
Yeah.
4, it felt enough. But it's one of those things of once you give that volume, you can't go back. And speaking of volume, your mum tells you to turn down the volume on the TV, you get your running shoes, you get your Pokemon starter,
Yeah.
and Little Root's alright. It's an alright starting town. I think it's no new Bark Town, but it's definitely better than Pallet.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very nice start to the game. The game just pushes you forward. It doesn't actually get irritating if you stay back like it does like in later generations, where if you walk backwards, the game's very angry at you.
Yeah.
But
The game has many incentives to go back, like
Mm.
the Trickmaster's house.
I haven't even written that down. That's a fantastic one.
Yeah, the game has many reasons for you to go back. I think Ruby and Sapphire does a better job with like the contest stuff than Emerald does. I like the battle tents that they put in Emerald because it gives you a chance to get some good items early from doing some short challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But I think going to different towns to have different for different contest types was a much better system than having all of them in the same place.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's obviously that gives it the minor RPG element to it.
Yeah, because it makes it so you go to this city for that type of contest, and
And
that's
that
the
kind
only
of
type of contest that they have.
and that mirrors the anime,
Yeah,
which is a subtle little thing at this point where the games were still being influenced by the anime, really.
yeah,
And you get through, it's like it is quite a while before you face your first gym leader. Actually,
it is actually. Yeah,
it's one of the games that is the longest. I feel, I'd say the
yeah.
longest probably.
Nothing's as long as the gap between was it the second and the third gym in Gen 6?
Oh, of course, yeah, where you have to go across like half the map for it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's quite a big gap, and then you get like 5 gyms in a row, like instantly.
Yeah, and obviously like Gen 5 had like a gym per town more or less. Because that
Yeah.
game was being efficient, if anything.
Gen 5 is very much a version of Gen 1 where there's a gym in every town.
For sure.
Outside of, like, and even more so in Black 2, White 2.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so it's a nice few routes. You go through the forest. It's honestly a very standard forest. It's nothing special about it.
Yeah, but I like the fact that it actually introduces you to Team Magma / Aqua early as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things about this thing. So we talk about the jump from Gen 2 to Gen 3 and how instead of okay, here they cut content. They cut like the night cycle thing. They obviously the clock still remained because of the GBA console, so they had it for the berries, which are the new idea for the held items. They were basically the assistants of the game. So so the game, instead of having all this side content of like little events, daily events, like the MMO kind of aspect of it, they went the core experience. They went and focused on the core experience, which is what people wanted from Gen 8. But here they basically went in exchange. I'm gonna quote Infinity War. Sorry, yeah, a soul for a soul. You give up the events, you get a better battle system.
Yeah. I feel like they made all the right decisions with what they cut with Gen 3 because I think they realized that it would be a new game and something that a lot of people probably hadn't have played Pokemon before if they were switching to GBA as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was very much a they had to start fresh. So they because they kind of made Gen 2 as if it was the last Pokemon game. And
Yeah,
everything they did, they haven't really changed with how they do it now. Even 20 even like 15 years later when they're trying to restart stuff.
yeah. Like this one, they obviously like there's obviously blatant things like Team Aqua Magma because of the fact that you can't you have to start fresh because for an experimental new generation you can't shove 3 generations in.
Yeah.
Even with the ROM hacks that I've seen, they used to struggle to. I used to play Shiny Gold, and they were trying to get Johto and Kanto into what do we call it, into Fire Red, and that was a challenge alone.
Yeah, and I know for fact that like Gen 3 is the one that ROM hackers tend to ROM hack the most.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because,
nowadays it's ridiculous.
yeah, there's so many ROM hacks for Gen 3. The only one that I really played, the one that I played the most was one called Light Platinum, if you've ever heard of that
I've
one.
heard the name, yeah.
Yeah, I played that one.
Mm. Yeah, I heard it's like Pokemon Gaia, which basically is like
Pokemon Gaia, yeah, there's so many different Gen 3
it's
ones, and they
ridiculous.
always try and put like later gen Pokemon into Gen 3 as well.
They even put the Gen 4 mechanics in, which is kind of scary.
Yeah,
They just show there's a reason they use Gen 3 as a base
yeah,
because the actual core system, the battle system, everything is snappy and fluid and looks pretty in this game. For a 2003 game, it's aged incredibly well. It's aged significantly better than a lot of the other generations. And one of the aspects, obviously, rebooting, you have to have a new team. But they decided, how do we, you know, bring it bring it up, and make new stakes? You have 2 teams, and obviously that brings into the whole version exclusives.
yeah,
Ruby with Magma, Aqua with Sapphire, and each had their respective legendary, which is nice and cool. Obviously, it's a cut and paste story, but
yeah,
for Pokemon, that was still quite ambitious.
yeah,
And obviously, you go through, you meet them throughout. Honestly, I think they're probably a weak team on their own, like Aqua and Magma.
yeah,
But that's fair because like I said, they're cut and paste. They're not gonna have much personality put into. Obviously, that's something that ORAS kind of dealt with a little bit, but
yeah,
we'll get to ORAS eventually. um,
yeah,
one day. Um, yeah, so you just go through there, and it feels good. Obviously, like I think we should probably just instead of going through the bit by bit of the region, I think we should just summarize chunks of the region because we'll be here forever.
oh yeah, we will be here all day.
Yeah, Rustboro is a good city. It's alright.
Roscoe is a decently good city for a first gym.
Yeah, and Roxanne. It's just a standard gym leader. It's alright.
Standard rock gym leader.
Yeah, levels are alright. To be honest, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and the game then introduces you to the Devon Corp, and I don't know how it took me so long in my first playthrough to get the EXP share. I'm so angry at
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, I don't remember getting it till very late in my playthrough. I don't remember getting it until when you end up in Meteor Falls, and you can go back down to Rustboro.
Yeah.
I got it then on my
Yeah.
first ever playthrough of Gen 3, I think.
Yeah. Because one of the quality of life aspects that Emerald gave to this whole generation for that kind of thing is the phone calls. Because that came back from Gen 2,
Yes.
which you actually didn't mention last week. That was a nice little MMO kind of aspect. Where it's just keeping you updated. It made it feel alive. But in this one, because I'm pretty confident the president just goes, come and see me. So it keeps it in the back of your head.
Yeah, and then when he phones you, he says, I'll give you something for completing your task." So you're like, "Oh, let's go back and get it."
Mm. Yeah. And obviously this brings you to... what's his name? The guy with the wingle. Barini?
Oh, Briny.
Right, I couldn't the pronunciation. And it gives you the little cute boat, and I think it's a really, really good set of
And you're there with
visual...
his dog, Pico.
His dog. Jesus, God, the amount of times I've seen it, I used to actually go in his little house and just stand between him and the wingle and be like,
And then we got end up behind him.
and it's like, You fool! You've been absolutely played.
You've been had.
It was cute. Um, I think it's really good visual learning and what they did. You know how you obviously have the boat, and it
Yeah, and it doesn't like skip travel you or put you inside the boat. You see the entire route, and you're like, when do I get to explore this?
it makes you want to come back to it, and it makes you also notice
Yeah,
there's loads of trainers here. You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, because it actually makes it worth going back to do the fifth gym. Because when you're done the fifth gym, Briny don't give you no lifts anymore.
Yeah, I think.
Briny gives you no lifts. You have to go your own way back.
Yeah, because you get to you do that. You take it to Dewford, and yeah, I think Dewford's pretty solid. Like, it's a cute little island. It's not much
Yeah,
to it, but I actually did quite like that gym there. It was
yeah.
very obviously it's quite straightforward, but it's just very fun.
It introduces you to the most useless mechanic and useless HM in that town.
Flash.
We
Yeah.
love some Flash, dude.
And God, actually, my first time in Ruby Sapphire, I actually did Dewford Cave without Flash.
Oh, so did I.
I brute forced it, and I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, I brute forced it as well.
I think I did the same thing for Victory Road. I wish I really hadn't.
I remember doing that with Victory Road, brute forcing it.
I actually remember on Gen 4 because I actually just when I played Gen 4 last year, I refused to use Flash, so I would just go online and just look up the maps and just follow it.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I'm not bothering with that. But no, Dewford's pretty nice. Like, do notice that like everything we're saying is like it's not bad. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing in Hoenn that's honestly inherently bad, except for one thing, and I think I'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, another bit of visual storytelling. It also shows you the abandoned ship, which actually gives, especially in ORAS, gives you a lot of lore.
It does, and also it gives you some really good stuff for going there. Like, it gives you Ice Beam for going there.
I think isn't it implied that it's the SSN?
I think so. I don't know. It's implied that the guys from Devon made it, so I don't know.
Okay, honestly, it's been a hot minute. I remember seeing theories that it's the SSN from the anime and so on.
Yeah, I've seen theories of that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's implied that the Devon guys made it. Like, they made most of the stuff in Hoenn.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Slateport, I think Slateport is is got one of my favorite like town themes.
Yeah.
Do do do. Whatever, however it goes.
I do like Slateport.
I know it how it goes.
Slateport's a very good city with its nice little market, and that's when you first learn about the effort ribbon as well, which I was always trying to get on all my Pokemon as a kid. I had no idea what the hell it meant.
I was like, it makes my Pokemon look pretty. It will help them in contests, won't it?
As an adult, I know what it means. It means you maxed out all the EVs on that Pokemon.
Yeah. Like, good. That was a good town. You know, you have another encounter with Team Magma. You meet the leader. It's like cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's alright. Then we're getting close to the fabled nightmare. That is Rival 2. Yeah.
What?
Rival 2.
Oh, Rival
Because
2.
obviously at this point in the game, you cannot be over leveled really unless you've literally sat in like.
Yeah,
grass.
even if you fight every single trainer, unless you've only been doing it with one Pokemon, you're not going to be that high in levels.
Yeah, because May 2 or Brendan 2, obviously, whoever you pick. By the way, this was the first Pokemon game mainline, as in like from start of generation, to have multiple characters.
Yeah.
Which has been a trend going on. Emerald, Crystal did experiment with this a little bit, but this is like the first in the first set of games in the generation that had it. So it obviously made a mainstay from that, and yeah, it's like I'm pretty confident that she would have like a wing guard which would put Growl. You're already at a disadvantage.
Yeah, no. In like Emerald, if you pick Mudkip, she has a wing guard that just growls you. The Slugma could be pretty annoying to deal with Smog, and it poisons you. She has a Torkoal.
A Torkoal.
She has a Torkoal at one point. Because in Emerald you can fight her in Rustboro.
Oh yeah, they had the optional fight there. Yeah.
she has a torque, and you're just like, hang on a second here. Like if she, or like obviously if she doesn't have torchic, she has a torque.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like May is honestly one of the better rivals, and it's kind of nice that she isn't like an actual rival. She's just someone who you battle with every now and then, and they're mostly an assistant to the professor.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace from like having your moody, edgy rival. Like,
Yeah,
I don't mind it. I mean, obviously
yeah,
she is
no, I
kind of
don't mind it either.
she is
It's
kind of
kind of
bland.
nice.
Yeah, she's kind of bland, but it's like it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
And yeah, but another bit of visual gameplay, just like the boat thing, when you're walking along, is it Route 110? I think it's 110 or something.
you mean Cycle Road?
Underneath cycling road. I
Yeah,
think
I can't remember the name of the route.
might be
But yeah,
106 or something.
you walk underneath you walk underneath Cycle
Yeah,
Road.
and you see like the power plant and so on. Hoenn constantly does this where it gives you glimpses of things to make you want to
Yeah,
revisit, and it's like I said in Gen 1, where they place the Pokeballs in the specific places to make you come back. This game is
yeah,
littered with this, and it makes it fantastic.
yeah. You even see like and then like, even when you go on Cycle Road, you see the new Marvel location. You see a tree in the middle that you can use your power on, and if you talk to the sign on that tree,
Mhm.
it says Team Magma or Aqua was here in really bad handwriting.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just so cute. And speaking of that secret power, this is the game that introduced secret bases, which is
Yeah,
a Gen 3 thing,
it got
and
expanded much more in Oras, but yeah,
mm,
Gen 3, then they're okay, but they're not as good as they are later.
yeah, and you could like, if you link battle with people, it would actually put them in the game, like their
No,
people
it's if
bases.
you mixed records with them.
Ah, okay.
If you mixed records with like another player, as long as their base wasn't in the same one as your one,
Mm.
it would appear on your map, and you could go visit it and talk to them.
It was super cool. I loved that. It was like you could battle in there and stuff.
Yeah,
Obviously, because it would be like your trainer would be based on your trainer ID, and that's a little annoyance. I wish I could have chosen mine, but
yeah,
again, they had to make a system at that point, and considering how many cutbacks they made, to put that in there is pretty great.
yeah,
Morville's are pretty good. It's got the don't talk about the game corner because they literally remade the city in ORAS to get rid of it.
yeah. They literally did.
Yeah, it's pretty blatant. I think that's probably honestly Morville's one of the weaker cities in the game. Apart
Yeah,
from,
it's obviously it's better in Oras because of its design.
it's also a pain in the arse to navigate.
Oh yeah, of course, it's really awful navigating that game. But in Gen 3, it is very much just a generic long town in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Hmm. Apart from the oh, what's it called?
Apart from the what?
You know the bike shop. Sorry, yeah.
Oh yeah, the bike shop's there, yeah.
And that's another thing. We come to the bikes. This game also introduced depth into the routes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
into the choice of bike.
So macro, is it? So not macro. It's
It's
Mac.
Mac and Acro.
Yeah. So Mac would be your fast bike, which is what everyone's gonna pick the first time.
And Acro is for movement and tricks. So what they're used for is very, very later on in the game. Like, your choice doesn't really matter until very later on, because the Mac bike can at max speed can go up
Those
like
dirt
sliding.
slopes, yeah.
The dirt slopes.
Whereas
The Acro
acro,
bike can jump over gaps. The main places where this is applicable is obviously Sky Tower. Way later in the game, you need the Mark bike to get through it, and then in the Safari Zone.
mm,
So the Safari Zone has different areas, and obviously different Pokemon appear in different areas. And depending on your choice of bike can depend on which ones you have access to. So changing your bike actually changes what Pokemon you can get.
which I think is
Which is
fantastic.
which is why when Oras came out, they made it so you can switch the bikes on a whim without having to travel all the way back.
I personally do prefer that. I think it was
More
just a.
every time.
I think it was just a. I think it was probably just a limitation thing.
Yeah, I think it was as well because as soon as Gen 4 came out, they put the gear system on the bike, so you could have both. You could have a slower one or a fast one.
Mm.
The only difference is in Gen 4 you didn't have tricks.
Yeah, and one of the big things about Hoenn is the variety of the region. Nothing looks the same in each town or
Yeah,
each area. Like Gen
and they're
1.
all very, very, very distinct and different. I.e.,
Mm,
when you get to one of the only towns that doesn't have a gym outside of the starting two areas, Verdant Turf, the whole gimmick of Verdant Turf is it is that the entire area is clean air. So
yeah, which
people
is
with
where
bad lungs live, like people with hard of breathing live there because it's actually good for them to live there.
which is kind of neat because it brings you to Wally, who's obviously gone there from Petalburg. See,
Yes,
there's a lot,
Petalburg.
obviously a lot of the names in this are just very different. I don't actually know the theming of these ones, but Petal obviously is flowerish,
Yes.
and it's just the case of Wally's an okay secondary rival. I think he
Yeah.
isn't there enough to be very memorable.
No, but he is actually one of the. He actually brings one of the best catching tutorials they've ever put in a Pokemon game.
I would absolutely agree because it irritates the hell out of me.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, technically, it's the best one because it is the only one which is like a genuine guy trying to catch his first Pokemon, and on a first playthrough, I can guarantee you, if you haven't worked out how to use Pokeballs yet, you would that would teach you perfectly because you would be just as inexperienced as he is.
And he gets a route, so you're like, what? I want that.
Yeah, and it shows you can get rolls here in that route as well, which is very, very strong.
Nothing will make me laugh harder than the worst to highlight. He got
He
a
found a
shiny.
shiny rolls. First Pokemon on his journey.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Fun fact: if he gets a shiny rolls, it stops being shiny when it evolves.
Really?
Yeah,
That's strange. I
yeah,
guess it must be
because the game isn't
scripted.
programmed for him to have a shiny Gardevoir,
Oh, okay.
so it can't keep it in its memory. If that makes sense.
That's strange. Mm. Yeah, and this game continued the daycare system from Gen 2, more or less the
Yeah,
same. Obviously, he started introducing bigger and bigger egg groups, and
it did. Bigger egg groups, but the core mechanics of it were exactly
Mhm.
the same.
when you're a dumb kid like me, you're trying to get your Voltorb to breed with Rayquaza.
Oh, dude, that's so funny.
I know I'm such an idiot, but yeah. And then you go up north, and you've seen so much green, and then it's just like, no more. I love the north, west of Holland, because the whole desert area, the whole Mount Chimney, the route where you go for the ashes, the Meteor Falls area, it's all so visually distinct, interesting. A lot of areas of depth, which is what Gen 3 is full of. It gives the evidence of it. It's just lovely to walk through. And
Yeah,
it's honestly not. It's very well paced. Because the difference between well, we haven't mentioned actually the third gym. I think funnily enough, I think it's the worst gym in the game.
or the electric one.
Yeah, it's very not fun.
It is very much just like flick these switches.
Because always the core principle is of gyms is they're very basic puzzles, but that one's just a little bit like, oh god.
Yeah.
They made it a bit better in Emerald, I think, because of the trainer locations. It made you go.
Yes, the train locations actually force you to fight a couple of them.
But yeah, it's quite a while between you. It's quite a while between you fighting. Oh, what's his name? Watson. That's it.
Watson
And then
and
Flannery. Yeah, it's like that's like one of the biggest gaps, like outside of
Yeah,
like
you
Month
go
X
to
Y.
another memorable location. You go up to the volcano.
Mm. Well, no, you don't actually go there yet, do you?
After Watson, you get Rock Smash, and then you head straight up to. Oh no, you don't. You go to Far Harbor Town first.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's
you go for
my.
you go for the Meteor Falls thing, and this is
Yeah,
one of the
so
wonderfuls.
you like go down to where all the volcanic ash falls, which is outside Far Harbor Town.
Mm. Yeah, and you continue through the Meteor Falls, where you're absolutely gonna find your Lunatone in there. And God, this is
Yeah,
another thing of the game. The game just hides rare Pokemon away in such good locations,
yeah.
like Bagon
Like
in like
people who
Uniform.
really look at the back of Meteor Falls, there is a
Tiny room.
there's a there's a waterfall which like you don't have access to until the very end of the game. You go up there and it's full of the hardest trainers in the entire game,
Oh yeah, I remember that. It's great.
and also that's where you get Bagon.
And that's where you fight Steven in Emerald, isn't it?
Yes, no. Steven is in Far Harbor Town in the minor guys
Oh,
back
okay.
room where you find Dittos.
Okay, I could have sworn he was in Meteor Falls. I'm not.
No, he's not in Meteor Falls.
I'm actually gonna have a quick look at that. I'm curious.
I
Yeah.
can't remember what the name of the cave is. No, it's Mirage Cave. Or no, it's not Mirage Cave. It's Mirage. It's something cave. It's the minor dude's cave in.
No, he's in Meteor Falls in Emerald. I looked it up.
Is it Meteor Falls?
Yeah. He's in a special room. Is basically it.
Oh, alright.
Yeah, and when he's there, he has like that crazy level 70 team, because the game tries to mirror the red thing by doing that,
Yeah.
and it was really nice because I was like, man, Wallace is too easy. I want to fight Steven, and the game's like, go for it. And yeah, that was like lovely. Obviously, the game then kind of teaches you a bit about the backtracking aspect, and the most evident way of doing it, I love it, because you could actually do this earlier if you really wanted to. Is when you want to loop back around to Morville to go back up to Flannery, or to Mount Chimney technically.
Yeah.
You have to go through that tunnel with Rock Smash, and this is the point at which Mr. Briny is actually deactivated because you actually have a means to go back.
Mr. Briny is deactivated after you get Surf.
Is he not? I guess because of Dewford, yeah.
Well, you have to. Well, he's at Slateport until you go back and do the fifth gym.
Yeah, and that I love the way it teaches you. You can either find out on your own by going there with Rock Smash, having spoken to the people,
Yeah.
or you just find out there. It makes you go, oh, there might be places I've missed. And on top of
Yeah.
the whole, like, seeing things out of the corner, right, it's fantastic, and it's just a little things here and there that help doing. I think you get a reward for what do you get for doing the Rock Smash thing?
You get strength.
Ah. So obviously by giving you such a good reward, it makes you want to sort of seek out all these little things.
Yeah. It gives you strength for doing it.
Mm. And that brings you to like one of the best encounters with Team Magma or Aqua. In Emerald, they change it up by having both present as villains, but constantly
Yeah.
fighting each other. Whilst in Ruby and Sapphire, they kind of like one's the good guy, which kind of didn't make sense to be honest.
Yeah.
And
Wow. Yeah. In like Ruby Sapphire, it's like one of them's the okay guys, the other one's the bad guys.
one's the politician, one's the extremist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get the nice encounter. You have your first battle with Maxie or Archie, and you get the absolute banger of a theme,
Yeah.
which ORAS turned up to 100 with the
Yeah.
big drop. I remember that. That was wonderful. And then obviously you get Flannery, which honestly, I think that's an underrated gym.
Flannery's gym, what, the one where you pop in at the ground?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny to do and tough. It's actually kind of tough as well. Unless you,
Yeah, she
unless,
is, and that's mainly, I think it's her camera opt in Ruby Sapphire that really does you in. Is it
Mm.
camera up or is it Torkoal? It's one of the two. The
I think
Torkoal
she's.
really does you in.
I think she has both.
Yeah, they really do you one.
Because they have overheat, and that's the one that like smacks you for a lot.
Overheat, magnitude,
Mm. And
they completely destroy you.
it's got the not day springs, hot springs, with where you
Yes.
get why not?
Why not? Which is actually the easy way to get
Wow, effect.
which is the easy way to get Wobbuffet. The only other way to get Wobbuffet is to catch it in the Safari Zone, where it's literally impossible to catch half the time.
Hmm. Or you could get why not from Mirage Island, which I don't know if it actually exists.
It does actually exist. It's just that your chance of getting Mirage Island is so low, it may as well not exist.
Which is something they actually revisited in Gen 6 as IRS, which I thought was incredible.
Yeah, they actually made them more of a mechanic, and they made them refresh daily.
Mm.
So you could easily get at least something out of your daily stuff.
Yeah, and obviously this is the game, the way the game makes you backtrack is you obviously have May who's being like, yo, remember that your dad said he'd fight you if you got 4 gym badges?
Yeah.
And
She gives you the goggles to go in the desert and tells you to go back to Spellberg.
the game basically goes, do you wanna grind?
Yeah,
Or
the
do you
game goes, oh, do you want to go get some fossils? And you're like, oh, word.
So which one did you pick?
Well, my first playthrough, I picked Lily because I
I
didn't know what it was.
Ooh, yeah, that's the same. That's obviously the thing. When was the last time a Pokemon game did fossils? By the way, was it like Gen 4?
No, Gen 5 has Tortuga and I can't remember what it's called. Archeops.
Okay, because I've noticed that a distinct
Gen
lack of that.
6 has Aurorus and Tantrum.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think Gen 7 had any.
No, Gen 8 definitely didn't have any.
I don't think Gen 8 had any either.
No, because it didn't have any rock roots, let alone.
Yeah.
Had a couple of tunnels, but yeah, I chose whichever one Armaldo came from, Anorith, I think.
Yeah, Claw Fossil.
Yeah, and obviously that's you go back to the Devon Court for that, and that's when you get your EXP share. That's when the game intends you to get the EXP share. Really.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, no. The game intends you to get the EXP share after I can't say the word. When you come back from me, it falls.
Fallover.
When you come back from me, it falls because what you've done, you'll learn. And yeah, I mean the sand route's kind of cool. It's quite big, and there's a lot of
Yes, it
trainers,
is.
and
later on in the game, that's where Regirock is.
and we will explain the Regis in quite a bit, which is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
don't remember the unlock requirements for Ruby and Sapphire because
Yeah.
they're different to Emerald.
They flipped them for something for no reason.
Yeah, they're all really different.
But they did that with a few things in Emerald. They just adjusted things to make it just different for the sake of being different. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go to fight Norman, and he has one of the weirdest gyms in the game, and this is like one of those ones that's like, it's a tutorial for the rest of the game,
Yeah.
because it teaches you about X items, and if you're like me the first time, you just go, what's he doing? I'm just gonna punch you with my Blaziken, or Swamp, or whatever. And God, he was quite tough as well, actually, if you weren't paying attention to what he's doing. Because he
Yeah.
would obviously, what was the move that he would use?
Which one?
Like his slacking. Which was the move?
Slacking Facade.
Is that the one that he gives you, the TM?
Yes.
Yeah. And speaking of TMs, they're still single use at this point until Gen 5, which honestly I think is one of the best changes they ever made, which was making them non-single use, because it's just like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And because obviously how slacking works, doesn't it just like an absolute monster when it actually
Yes.
hits?
Yeah. Basically, it only hits every other turn, but it absolutely destroys everything.
How does it work with Hyper Beam then? Does it just make it 3 turns then?
No, it's every other turn it takes a break. So even if you Hyper Beam, it doesn't matter.
Jesus, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but usually if you kill with Hyper Beam, you just switch out anyway.
Yeah, because that resets it, doesn't it? And Like
Yes,
I
it
think
does.
in Gen 1, if you just killed one of those kind of moves, you just got the move to turn back, didn't you?
Yes.
Which is another little flaw of Gen 1. Yeah, then after that, you get to like the best bit of the game, in my opinion. You know what it is?
The route fortress.
With the best house in the game, where the person's got all the wingles.
Oh, the Wingard house where he sends the message to the guy in Fortree.
No, he's like, yo, I thought if I like got loads of wingle and tried to hang from them, I'll be able to fly. Do you remember that?
I think Wingard can learn fly, if I remember right.
Maybe, but he was trying to do it without the TM, without the AHM and so on. It was just some really gimmicky comedy
Yeah.
and kind of amusing. But yeah, Fortree, the route to Fortree is honestly the pinnacle of Pokemon routes. I could write an essay on why it's such a good route
Yeah.
because it's basically
Everything works. It's such a creative route. The Weather Institute part is really cool.
mm.
You get a free Pokemon.
Oh, and that's not even including.
It has a waterfall area. If you know the fishing stuff, it's where you get Feebas, which is one of the rarest fishing
How do
Pokemon
you
in
actually
the
get
entire
Phoebus?
game.
I've never managed to get it in Gen 3.
Right. So in Gen 3, Feebas's location changes every day. If your internal clock doesn't work, it's in the same place every time from when you start the game. But it's on one tile on the entire route.
I don't know how the hell you're going to figure that out.
You literally just have to super rod on every single tile until you find the Feebas tile.
Is it just like consistent that it'll always show up on that tile though? As in, like,
Uh,
that's the only Pokemon that'll show up on that tile.
no.
That's ridiculous.
And what you have to do, and then afterwards, right? Even if you get a Feebas, right? It has to have, I think, near max. It has to have near max beauty for it to evolve, which means you can only use ones of a particular. Or I think it's mild. Mild is the only Milotic that you could evolve through legit ways.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
Milotic
you
was.
had to have the nature that liked beauty Pokeblocks.
Yeah, that was very, very, in my opinion, one of the dumbest things they did. Was very weird. I get the concept of having a Pokemon evolve from that, because it promotes the use of doing contests.
Yes, it does.
But
The entire
Milotic,
point of the Pokemon was you find a rare Pokemon and then you go do contests with it.
but the sheer like specificness of Feebas in general didn't help.
Yeah.
If Feebas was a bit rarer, it would have been fine. A bit more common, I mean.
Yes.
But yeah, like so, that route starts off by adding in a new mechanic, tall grass, literally.
Tall grass, and it's the first one with rain on as well.
Mm. Yeah, and it like it obviously it teaches you about like because the bug catchers actually move in a specific way when you're doing it.
Yeah, I've actually memorized where all the trainers are on that route, on like in like the tall grass.
Mm-hmm.
So I always manage, so I know exactly where to go to avoid them. It's pretty good. Like honestly, like the whole idea of the tall grass kind of teaching you where to go for all the items, and also kind of teaches you where well the trainers are because they're always in the same locations, obviously, just moving around.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that's just the start of it, and it's like it has that dotted throughout because
Yeah.
the game that route splits into two. Like it goes, do you want to do the bike route or do you want to do the grass bit?
Yeah.
And then it obviously it converges
They
towards the
converge.
end
They both go to the same location.
for a story event. Yeah.
But it actually slightly rewards you for picking the muck bike because you can take a shorter part of the route.
Mm. And there's also
Like lack of random encounters and or a trainer battle, I think.
but if you also had the acro bike, you could go into some special areas with some items.
There's a special area that you can only acro bike to. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's where you see the waterfall bit and so on. So it kind of just like incentivizes it, and then all that you get the Weather Institute, which is it's all right. You get your cast form from it, and it's just a nice little change of pace before the and obviously a free heal before the next May fight.
Yes.
And that's the way you cap off a great route. Obviously, you can't make every route like that, but even the route after Fortree is honestly nearly just as good as it.
Yes, it's very good. It also leads to Mount Pyre, which also leads back to a route back around
Mm.
to Morville as well.
Hmm. And
And then
Fortress,
obviously, if you haven't done New Morville by then, you can go do New Morville and get yourself a Thunderbolt TM and a Magnemite or a Voltorb.
or an Electrode.
Or an Electrode that explodes in your face every time you run into one.
God, yeah. And Fortress itself is a pretty cool city.
Yes, it
Just
is.
because of how
It's
unique
very,
it is.
very uniquely designed, and I really like the idea that you go up into tree houses, and that's what you.
Because that's one of the strongest things is this game is how visually distinct it is. Like they really really went big on it for for era.
Yeah.
But then they obviously it's the first time the game forces you to go past the town because of Kecleon, which is obviously just a kind of a gift Pokemon more or less.
Yes.
And yeah, you get Kecleon, you beat Winona in. It's an okay gym.
She's famous because her Altaria is real annoying to deal with.
Oh yeah, because that's like the first.
Dragon Dance and Earthquake.
That's like the first dragon type you fight, isn't it?
Yes, it's the first dragon type you fight, but the reason why it bodies you is because of Dragon Dance. It just stacks up those
Yeah,
Dragon Dances.
and if you're like me when you're younger, you obviously don't pay attention to stacks.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you get opened up hardcore.
Mm. And this is honestly at the point. Okay, this is at the point in the game where there's actually not that many like Pokemon around
Yeah.
that actually are very very good against
Yeah.
like
The,
flying.
the game actually basically expects you to actually go to New Morville and get an electric type, really.
Yeah, because off the top of my head, the ones that you could obviously use, obviously like Geodude. So basically, it's anything from Dewford, anything from New Morville or the surrounding area,
Or if you chose Mudkip.
or if you
Swampert really starts its element from the
Mhm.
third gym onwards, where it starts to get even better than it was before.
Yeah. The other one you forget is like oh what's it called? That sand route. There's a few like kind of Pokemon there that are pretty handy. But that's I mean the game
Yeah,
basically goes the game wants you to go to one of those. And it's not like it's telling you to go to one area, it's telling you to go wherever. There's
yeah,
plenty of choices. And that's what's really good at Gen 3 is the game isn't holding your hand, it's not being outlined hard, it's just being like, remember this?
yeah,
Obviously after that you go to Lily Cove, which go through an alright route where you find Masquerain,
yeah, dude.
and which is random. I don't know why I remember that. And actually, fun fact: the water around Mount Pyre is where I found Latios for the first time. Um,
Nice.
and I was actually in a meeting. I was in my dad's meeting at work because I was on like school holidays and he had to take me. I definitely did not. I let away. I went, and I everyone in the meeting looked at me. I was a weird kid, eh?
Yeah, the first time I ever found a Latias or Latios, I was on the route to Pacific Town.
Hmm.
I was by Sky Pillar, and he just popped up, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't catch one of those until Emerald. I didn't know they existed when I played Ruby and Sapphire,
Mm.
so I just never ran into them because me being dumb kid, and so yeah, and nowadays I just cheese it because you have to cheese.
Oh God, I remember like when I actually went and did catch Latios. I don't know why I got Crobat of all things against it.
Well, you
It was
just
mean.
mastered all
It was
that.
mean look, but I don't know why I chose a poison type against a psychic type.
There's actually no other Pokemon to do it with in
Ruby
that game.
Sapphire.
You need a Pokemon with mean look because
They run away.
yeah, but there's no arena trap unless you trade over a Dugtrio.
Yeah, that's I mean like Ruby, Fire Red Leaf Green kind of remedied that a little bit, but like,
Yeah, but before that, you had to use Mean Look or you had to Master Ball them.
I assume you used your Master Ball on Kyogre.
No, I caught Kyogre.
Oh, fair. I actually missed the Master Ball the first time. I didn't know it was there.
I got it the first time, yeah. But it's the only game. It's one of the only games where it doesn't give it to you.
No, it's the only missable one. And in ORES, I'm pretty confident they just went here.
I think they give it to you in ORAS.
Yeah, like I don't blame them, to be honest, for that. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you go to Mount Pyre. Mount Pyre is actually pretty cool. It's a nice again. Everything's so visually distinct. It's memorable. This
Yeah.
isn't even because I've played Gen 3 a number of times. It's because it genuinely is memorable. Like going up there, getting Dusclops and Banette. Well, Shuppet, but yeah.
Duskull and Shuppet, yeah.
Mm.
Finding a Meditite or a Vulpix up there as well. And if like you were really lucky finding that Chimecho.
God, I remember trying to find that Chimecho for ages.
Chimecho is one of the rarest Pokemon, and it's so not even that good. Surprise, like annoyingly.
No, but then in Gen 4 they gave Chingling, so it was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I quite enjoyed that. That's the when you get the red orb and the blue orb, and I'm like, how would
And
you?
you're
Why
like,
would you?
oh, this is gonna be bad.
Because they start monologuing about climate change.
Yeah.
So for context, Magma want rid of ocean because ocean bad. Arco want rid of land because land bad. Water good. There you
Yeah.
go. That's the thing. It's one of the kind of weak plot twists. Like,
I do find it funny that, as per the legend, Kyogre and Groudon fought each other, and you're just like, yeah, but Groudon would get bodied. He's a ground type.
yeah, but at the same time, it's like, can you imagine what it's like for like Kyogre jumping out of water and getting hit by lava?
Yeah, I know,
It's gonna
right?
hurt still. And obviously, like you can have
Oh, God.
underwater volcanoes and shit. It's like, sure, whatever. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's obviously just symmetry of the themes. And yeah, I used to call Groudon Groundon because I couldn't
I
read.
think I did as well. I remember I think I got Kyogre's name wrong when I was a kid. I also made the cardinal sin of calling Rayquaza for the longest time.
Same. It's because of Quavers. I think it's Quavers because of those crisps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can say it like that. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so they release it, and then the line of Whalmers leave Lily Cove. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they just leave.
No, because they're like, oh no, how do you get past these Whalmers? I just love the idea of a lot of Whalmers just being like, we're gonna body you.
Yeah, we're gonna body you real quick.
And yeah, you go from there through a very okayish, like water thing. What did you think of Shoal Cave, by the way?
I like Shoal Cave.
Yeah, again, it's completely optional. It's dependent on the internal clock, which
Yeah, you can only get a Shell Bell if like you visit it twice.
I assume.
But also that's where Ice Path is as well,
Is it?
and that's where you get Snow Run.
Oh, Ice Path. Yeah, it's at the bottom. I assume I can't.
I think it's called Ice Path, but it's
It's like a
essentially Ice
it's a
Path.
room in there basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume that with my internal clock being busted, I can't do that place properly.
No, you can only get one half of it. I think you might be fine actually. I don't know if it's based on the internal clock or not. It might just be every 6 hours it changes.
I think it might be every so often in game. I'll have a look at that. I'm
Yeah,
actually,
that is something worth looking at because I don't fully remember. Because there's a few things based on the eternal clock that are weird. Because technically, you can evolve Eevee into Umbreon and Espeon in those games, but which one you get is dependent on what you set your clock to
yeah.
originally. Because if you set it in AM, you get an Espeon. If you set it PM, you get an Umbreon. That's what I've read before. I think I've never done it before, so I don't know if it's like 100% true or not.
Okay, I just looked it up, and the Shoal Cave, yeah, it is stuck on whichever one your battery was stuck on.
Yeah.
That is kind of a bit sad, but like Again, the fact they even pulled it off working is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Moss Deep, is it? I always forget the name of that one
Yes,
properly.
Moss Deep.
Which is where Stephen resides, and did
And the double battle gym.
which is one of the hardest gyms in Pokemon
One
history
of
in
the
my opinion.
hardest gyms.
And they
And
nerfed
it's
it.
even harder in Emerald.
I think they nerfed it in Emerald. I thought
No, they made it harder in Emerald.
I found it way easier in Emerald.
You were ready for it in Emerald.
I think it's more the case of. I think it's the case of levels slightly and just.
And I think it's also because of the experience with Ruby Sapphire. You were ready for the double battle with the level 42s.
And they're the perfect example of how double battle works, where they were
Yeah.
buffing each other. They were just like
One of them has Sunny Day, so the other one can flamethrower you. One of them has healing moves.
they have and because they're psychics, Calm Mind.
They have Calm Mind. They support each other and they buff each other and they
They're-
attack.
The way I beat that as a kid, right? So I don't remember what happened, but do you remember? Okay, you remember there's a trainer in Pacific Log that gives you Blossom for a trade.
I think so.
Let me just Google it.
It might be a Gloomy gives you with a Sunstone on it.
I'm just gonna type in the Ruby and Sapphire in-game trades.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So sorry, I'm wrong. Now this is one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my life. You give them a Blossom, and you get a Corsola.
Yeah, and you could just catch Corsola.
Hands up if you did the trade.
I never did that trade.
I did. That's how I beat the gym. That Corsola is the reason I beat the gym. I don't know why.
Oh my god.
I don't know how I did it, but like.
I can't believe you wasted a Blossom on a Corsola.
I mean, Corsola's a Gen 2 Pokemon, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's again, same thing with Skarmory and a few others. Like, yeah. It's surprising what Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon made it into Gen 3.
Yeah.
I think it's the ones that were more forgotten about that came in.
Yeah, there was a lot of kind of lower tier Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon that got in, and then they put the more popular ones in the GameCube games to try and incentivize people to play the GameCube ones. Because that's how you get all three of the Gen 2 starters. Outside of Emerald, where Emerald is you complete the Pokedex and then you get a choice on one of them.
Yeah. Is Pikachu even in Ruby and Sapphire?
Yes.
Is it?
He's in the Safari Zone.
Exactly. For how big of a mascot Pikachu is, he's barely there at all.
Yeah, he's in the Safari Zone.
Because in every other generation, like afterwards, there's always like a token Pikachu somewhere.
There's always a Pikachu, and then later on in the 3D games, Pikachu is the only Pokemon that says its name instead of a cry.
Yeah. And yeah, so did you ever fall for the bait online? You know what bait I'm talking about, don't you?
Which bait?
At the space station.
Oh yeah.
Wait there until 200 hours.
And then you get to go to the moon or something.
Which is cute because they actually made that a thing in ORAS.
Yeah.
Which is it's a good sign of things to come when remakes talk about that, because I cannot wait. We'll get to this in Gen 4, but like I feel like there was some like that in Gen 4 rumors. God, because obviously in I know we were talking about Gen 3 right here, but like the Gen 4 remakes better have all the events as actual inbuilt things, like the Professor Oak one where you go and find Shaman. It's like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
But here, yeah, I was like, cool. Because even in Emerald, they actually make a bit more out of the Moss Deep Space Center with that Stephen Cold fight.
Yeah, they do, because like you get the magma slash hardcore takeover. I can't remember which one it is. It's one of them. I think it's Magma that does it, but they try and take over the space station. and yeah, you go into a double battle with Steven,
Which
showing
is your
that
first. I think it's either your first or second instance of that ever happening in the franchise.
you do it in you do it in Gen 4 a couple of times as well.
Yeah, Gen
But
4 they
after
kind of
that,
like.
you generally don't do it. I think you might do it once in Black and White too.
I think you do it with Hugh.
I think you do it with Hugh at one point, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely fight. You definitely double battle some Team Plasma. Uh, be, or Team Neoplasma, whatever they're called in that game. I forget. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's lovely, and I've, it's a nice town. You see his house. I don't think you can actually go in there until you beat the game.
Whose house?
Stevens.
Stevens. No, he takes you in there and gives you dive the first time you go to Mossy.
Yes, the worst part of the game. Dive.
Actually, it's both bad and good because I like going underwater to explore the stuff. But yes, it is annoying that um the but because actually by the time you get dive right, you've probably forgotten that like your evil team have gone underwater, and you need to go and find them.
Not even that. It's just that finding the submarine is a pain.
That's what I mean. I only found it by accident as a kid.
It took me actually a week. And it sounds so stupid.
I found Sutopolis first.
Same, and that was by pure luck because Pseudopolis is
Yeah,
actually quite easy to find. Because
yeah. You
you
kind of
see,
just go to the middle of the map and it's right there.
even though I find it really strange that you can fly there, but you can't. I mean, obviously it's because it's a giant crater,
Yeah, it is. It's at the bottom of like a huge crater thing.
which is really visually cool as an idea.
Yeah,
Um, but no, finding that thing is because okay, it's because you have to go into a very specific cave, and then dive back up.
yeah,
I didn't think to dive back up.
yeah.
God bless. How old was I? 7 year old me.
Oh God, yeah. I was only a little bit older.
Exactly. It's like I think that is. I would accept some hand holding on that
Yeah,
because that is kind of a bit much.
because they do kind of just ditch the submarine, and it's like surely the submarine would have gone up with them, right?
It does.
No, it's at the bottom of the ocean.
No, that's why the submarine's actually at the top when you like dive back up.
No, it's not. It
Strange.
might be in Oras, but it's not in the originals. It's at the
Yeah,
bottom.
it's been a while, but yeah. Then you get there and you just go through a short little dungeon. I think one of the things that Gen 3 probably is lacking is like story dungeons.
Yeah,
Because if you look at Gen 2 did the same thing where it didn't have any. I think that was a big complaint of Gen 1 probably, like
yeah,
forcing you to go through. Because Gen 2, the only one you ever had to do was the Azalea Forest or Ilex Forest, I think it's called.
yes,
That Victory Road, but Victory Road's a challenge meant to be,
yeah,
and Ice Path. But here you just have the dive segment and everything else. Because of how Hoenn's structured, you don't go through all those big hard bits. You go
yeah.
through the, you see the sights and move on after. But yeah,
Here's the thing with Hoenn, right? Is if you just stick to just doing all 8 gyms without doing anything else,
you miss out
you
so much.
you miss out on basically 3/4 of the game. And
Mm.
Gen 3, they like you can tell that they made it in a much. It's nowhere near as linear as the first two Pokemon games.
It's linear, but it doesn't like push you.
It's linear, but it's also open. It's linear in terms of what your goal is, but it's so more open when you get to the water. There's a lot of people that hate the amount of water in Gen 3,
I think
but
that's
it actually it opened up a huge amount of places for them to design areas where you could basically maze around on surf. Even
Mm.
though yes, you get annoyed fighting tentacles
trainers.
and trainers and bloody Wingulls all day. And
Yeah,
Pelipper
I
popping
would,
up
I
every
would,
now and
I
then.
would admit that like the whole water side of Hoenn is a little bit big.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I don't. mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously from there, you awaken Groudon or Kyogre, and this is one of my favorite things they did in the game. The actual scenery changes. Like
Yeah, it does.
it
It
starts
starts raining heavily,
or
or
drought,
starts or a drought around Sutopolis.
and even better in Emerald, both.
Both start happening at random
It's great.
intervals.
It makes it the sense of urgency
To be
rise.
fair, the cutscene after you go and get Rayquaza in Emerald is pretty funny because Kyogre's in the water and Groudon's on that tiny piece of land.
I mean, it's just a case of GBA limitation stuff.
It is pretty funny though.
Because have you ever seen any of the promotional art for that?
I think so.
Like, let me just I'm gonna quickly Google it and send you it. Uh,
Yeah, and then you get into Sutopolis, and then on Ruby Sapphire you go catch your guy. On Emerald you go get Rayquaza. Then if you want to go back and catch Rayquaza with your level 40s, feel free. I did that as a kid.
oh, the, yeah, because Rayquaza. Okay, if you have the Master Ball at that point. Here's the thing. I think Groudon and Kyogre, when you get them in Sutopolis, which I think is probably one of the best cities because it's just so cool. I remember actually sitting there and just being like, I want to have one of these houses here. I wish instead of secret base I could buy a house here. But
Yeah, I know, right? And
Groud,
they actually and the good thing about Groudon and Kyogre in that area as well is that they actually join you at like a not broken level.
yeah, which
Unlike
is
Rayquaza, when if you go back and catch him, oh look at that, you got level 70.
yeah. But the thing with the Sky Pillar in Emerald is the game basically, after you do the story event, it treats it like the actual Sky Pillar.
Yes, it is the actual Sky Pillar after you've done the story bit where it lets you just jump up it.
Mm. Like what's it called? Cladle's evolution. Oh, it's called it is
Baltoy.
Clayto. It is Clayto. Just ignore me.
Yeah, it's Baltoy then
Yeah,
then
I
then
forgot. I
Claydol.
forgot. I got the right one. If you have a look in the Discord, that's what Groudon's. That's what the promo art says for Emerald.
Yeah, it's a little patch of land. These are oh no.
Yeah, it's obviously meant to be a magma land, like risen up and stuff. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, like the whole thing with the cave origin is pretty cool. It's pretty. Actually, I think it's actually underwhelming because it's just very over and done with, and you can never go back in
Yeah.
there again. Which is why I kind of prefer it in Emerald, because they just use it for a story event, and they treat it as like, no, this is a secret special cave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you actually get to like, I think probably my favorite gym in the game,
Yeah.
because I love the puzzle there.
I like the puzzle, but also I like the idea that if you do the gym puzzle perfectly, you don't fight any trainers.
It
And
gives
then
you a
if
reward.
and then if you fail, that is when you're in trainer hell.
Oh god, yeah. Like, if you actually look at the puzzles, like the first gym's obviously just a, hey, this is how you avoid trainer battles. The
Yeah.
second one is just teaching you about movement and being careful. The third one is just, eh. Fourth one's teaching about movement. Fifth one is just puzzle.
Fifth one teaches you about decision making and what situations you'd rather deal with.
Mm.
Because the entire point of that one is you go into each room and you battle each trainer that have a different gimmick, i.e., one of them likes to raise accuracy and use low accuracy moves, one of them buffs their attack, one of them buffs their defense, the other one likes to use status moves
Yeah.
on you.
What was the one in Ruby and Sapphire for Moss Deep? Because I remember Emerald, there was like the turning things like on a conveyor
Yeah,
belt.
no. So in like Emerald, it's like you go in the different rooms and you turn around the statues.
Yeah, I like
In
that.
Ruby Sapphire, you have the one massive room where you go around on the conveyor belts and you switch around a couple of the panels to send you in the right directions.
Oh, is it like one of those just like you walk and the game pushes you kind of things?
Yeah.
Oh, that's those, okay. Yeah, I genuinely think, I would argue that the puzzles in Gen 3 are kind of weak, but at the same time, they're a big step up from Gen 1 and Gen 2's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like Wallace as a gym leader. His design's really cool.
Yeah, I think Wallace is a better gym leader than Juan.
Yeah. Yeah, one
Juan's
is...
just discount Wallace and then you fight Wallace anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do actually really like the gym leader designs in this game.
Yeah,
They're on an upward slope over this, and obviously, like at this point, you could go to Evergrande City, which I find it amusing that Evergrande City is a waterfall.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just limitations. It's RPG. Take it what you will, but you get to go to the left on the water, and you reach Pacific Log, which a lot of
Yeah.
people actually really really hate, which I'm
Mm.
really surprised on.
I like that town quite a lot. It's very, very unique. I kind of like the idea of that it's just where it's a place where everyone lives on water. It's much like the opposite of Fortree, if that makes sense.
It's like Fortree without the land.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't know how they get energy or anything, but that's not something that we'd have to worry about in terms of logistics.
it's an RPG.
It's a Pokemon game. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
But yeah, or you can go to Evergrande City, and I actually think that the Victory Road in Gen 3 is actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, the only game I think is bad in is the only games I think is bad in is 2, 6, and the first Gen 7 one.
Yeah.
Because in Gen 7 it's literally just okay, I'm just walking
It's
up.
actually just a room that you walk through.
It's unfinished. It's blatantly unfinished.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty good that one. But before we get to the end of Gen 3, we should probably talk about like one of the optional things that you could do, which you touched on earlier, the Reggies.
So in Gen 3, there's contests. In Emerald, there's battle tents alongside them. There is, obviously, alongside that, you get Pokeblock making. And obviously, alongside that, you get berry growing as well.
Mm.
There's obviously the secret bases. There's the Safari Zone with all its different areas and the Magbike and Acrobike stuff. Um, there is in Gen 3, once like you beat the Elite Four, you get the Battle Frontier, which is another amazing feature that I wish they would bring
Yeah,
back.
we will go on to that soon. I can't wait to talk about that. But the
Other than
Reggies.
that, there's not an incredible amount in Gen 3.
Hmm.
I think that's it for Gen 3.
Yeah, the Gen 3 definitely kind of went on the scope of the region, really.
Yeah,
Because it definitely had way bigger roots than Gen 1 and Gen 2 ever had.
yeah,
And yeah, the Reggies are like. Obviously, this game's trio. Because each game has a trio. Because Gen 1
yeah.
has the birds, Gen 2 has the dog cats, Gen 3 is these, Gen 4 is the lake trio, Gen 5 is the. What? The sword. Not the sword trio, I think?
Yes, the
Uh,
Source of Justice.
Gen 6, oops.
Gen 6 is Oops, yep.
Because it has Z, but Z is not really Pokemon.
Uh, Gen
7,
Gen 7
7.
has a quad one with the Tapus.
Oh, it also has the triple of the Lunar, Solgaleo, and Necrozma.
Yeah, but they're not really a trio like the Tapus are, because the Tapus all kind of have a shared lore.
Yeah, and Gen 3. Sorry, Gen 8. Does Gen 8 have one?
Gen 8 doesn't have one. Gen 8's only got one legendary, well, two
It's
legendaries.
got the two dogs, and that's it.
It's got Zacian and Zamazenta and Eternatus.
Yeah, Eternity. It's basically like having.
It's not getting more legendaries until DLC 2, which is Reggie, which is the two Reggies, and well, technically the bear thing's a legendary. I can't remember its name off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, and like the way you unlock the Reggies, I don't know how anyone did this without a guide. Unless, like, if you read Braille, you're blind and you're not. I'm like, yeah, how are you gonna figure out if you're blind?
yeah, I know, right?
You can't feel the game, annoyingly. But like,
Yeah.
because you had to like stand in a specific spot, like use dive or something with pipe.
So the first one is you need to go to the original area, use dig on a wall, and then talk to a specific wall when you have a Wailord and a Relicanth in your party. I can't remember which order it goes around, but the words say first comes Wailord, then comes Relicanth, or first comes Relicanth, then comes
Hmm.
Wailord. I can't remember which way around it was off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But you have to have a Wailord and a Relicanth in your party. Relicanth is a rare Pokemon underwater, and Wailord you have to get a Whalemite level 40, or go to Evergrande City and use Super Rod in
And
the water
and
for a 1% chance to find a Wailord,
and fish up the biggest boy of them all.
and fish up the biggest Pokemon.
Yeah, I do find it amusing that like in Gen 6 onwards they kind of scaled it down, and then Gen
Yeah,
8, and then in Gen 8 in the open world they just made a massive
it's
thing.
massive, but then in battle it's tiny. Technically, its Dynamax form is how big it is normally.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then after that, each of the Reggie's chambers have a particular challenge in them. So they change between games, but they have examples of you need to use Rock Smash on a particular tile after some movement. There's, I think it's Regice in Ruby Sapphire, where you have to stand in front of the door for 2 minutes without touching anything,
Oh yeah, they're very random.
and then you have to do some like other things. Like Registeel in Ruby Sapphire is use Fly on a particular tile. Um, there's so many like other things, and then like instead of 2 minutes in Emerald, the Regice one is you need to walk around the room without touching, without leaving the um like the tiles closest to the wall going clockwise. You need to do an entire loop or it won't open.
Hmm.
And then for Registeel in that version, you need to use Flash.
Just random inconsistent terms of
Yeah,
stuff.
you need to use Flash for some reason.
Hmm.
And yeah, then you get to catch them Reggies, and then the Reggies become important in Gen 4 for catching another Pokemon, which is actually real nice because then that incentivizes catching them in Gen 3 and then transferring them up.
Yeah, I do. There was definitely a lot of cross-gen stuff with Gen 3 and Gen 4 because even the anime really pushed it. Because like
Yeah,
Lucario, we'll get to like, Colosseum XD, etc. Like Ranger, there's like even the Battle Frontier stuff in the anime like was very blatantly having a little bit of Gen 4 influence in it.
yeah.
What other Pokemon were there? Mr. Mime. It's not Mr. Mime, Mime Junior. Sorry, Bonsley,
Bonsly, yeah.
Munchlax. And this is even before Gen 1 panderings and things, so it was a novelty at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we get to Victory Road. Like we said, you think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good
I
as
think
well.
it's I think it's one of the better ones
Hmm. I remember liking the
because
Gen 4 one, but the Gen 4 one also goes on for a little too long.
yeah, I think it's one of the better ones because actually if you remember where to go in that one, or like even on the first playthrough, it's not too complicated like pushing the boulders around in
Hmm.
Gen 1, or like the emptiness of Gens 2s that doesn't need any HMs. I think it's the right balance of needing HMs and not needing HMs.
For sure. And Gen, I would actually oh, okay. Would you think it's a hot take to say that I think Gen 5 in black and white twos is the best one?
I don't know. I don't remember that one. I think that's the one which has the straight road unless you want to go exploring, right? Or is that Gen 6?
It might. What do you think? It did change from black and white one to two, so it
I do
might.
like I do like the black and white one more.
I
Well, I like that one quite a lot. I
yeah.
don't remember the one from black and white two off the top of my head.
I don't remember black and white one annoyingly, but I just remember because I played two recently. It's like in the last year. It's like you go up all this little maze and things. You do avoid a lot of stuff, but you also can do a lot of stuff. I think
Yeah.
it might be. I know Gen 6 is quite optional, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm. Again, I think I'll have to play a lot of. I'll have to definitely play Gen 5 and 6 for the reviews.
Yeah.
But yeah, you also get a fight with Wally at the end. Fancy meeting him again. You forget about him the whole game and he pops
Yeah.
up.
You forget about the whole game because the last time you run into him is in Moorville.
Hmm.
And then he just appears in the game and goes, "Hi there, I can actually beat you now." And he actually has a pretty strong team, in all honesty.
Yeah, because.
But at the same time, he does just need to stop.
Mhm. And you, Oras did it better by giving him his own room and everything.
He also had kind of a character arc in that game, and also he doesn't, and also he uses Gallade as well, which is actually kind of a nice touch.
Mm. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's actually that's what isn't where you get Aggron in
In where
Victory Road.
I don't remember what I think Aggron might be there. I don't remember the Pokemon list off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
I remember you can get. I
You
can't.
could catch Hariyama there, and Hariyama's real annoying because it just whirlwinds you all day.
It does. Yeah, like what's his name? I can't say. Is Aaron, Lyron, and Aggron? I think it is.
Aron, Laron, and Aggron.
Yeah, those are tongue twisters. Then you, that's a good. It's a good Victory Road, and you get to the Pokemon League, and honestly, it's my favorite looking Pokemon League.
Honestly, the Everground City Pokemon League looks really nice.
I think the Gen 4 one looks really nice as well, but it's a close
Yeah.
second.
I also like the types you fight in the gen as well.
In the what?
I like the fact you start with a dark type trainer because there's a lot of dark types in Gen 3 actually.
Yeah. There's like.
There's a lot of dark types. I actually don't mind the fact they revisited the ghost type one, even though there's not as many ghost types because both Banette and Dusclops are real cool.
I don't know.
And
I
so
think.
Sableye. I like me some Sableye as usual.
Yeah, I think that. I'm happy they had a dragon one because I don't. I honestly don't like dragon gyms. They're really painful to go through.
Yeah, I would much prefer saving Dragon for Elite Four because they are because and then they can do what Gen 3 does and throw a Salamence at you.
Yeah, and you're so late into the game where you're like, oh, what the hell is this? Like the Metagross thing.
Yeah.
Okay, each of these teams
And
has.
even the Flygon, if you didn't get like a lot of people give up on Trapinch because Trapinch is real hard to train up sometimes.
Mm.
But as soon as it gets to Vibrava at like 34, you're like, oh word.
Mm. This is the thing. Sorry, Nietzsche, you want? Oh, it's basically
And then yeah,
each of those four has something that you may not have seen, and I love it because obviously you know the type, but you don't know what they're bringing with it. Because the first guy, speaking of which, the Elite 4 theme is absolutely banging. The
oh yeah,
clap.
it's a banger, dude.
Dun 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 dun
Yeah, it's an
dun.
absolute banger of a song.
Yeah. So the first guy, I don't remember their names annoyingly, but it doesn't particularly matter. They're all kind of blank slates. So you fight. He has a not Carvana, Sharpedo, doesn't he?
So it is. That's from Sydney. He has Mightyana, Shiftry, Cacturn, Sharpedo, and Absol. And that's such. What I like about the amount of dark types in Gen 3 is that Sydney has kind of the most quite a varied team in comparison to the rest of the Elite Four.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has Pokemon from all different
Types.
lines.
Yeah.
And then you go down to Phoebe, where she just has 2 Dusclops, 2 Bannettes, and a Sableye.
Mm-hmm.
Glacier has 2 Glalie, 2 Celios, and a Walrein.
Mm-hmm.
Drake has a Shelgon and a Salamence, which are from the same line, and Altaria and 2 Flygons. I think the 2 most creative teams are Stevens and Sydney's.
Yeah. Like the whole thing we say is like, you know how like there is something you might not have seen, Sableye.
Yeah.
I think maybe
Yeah.
Sableye's a bit of a push. I think that one's more common, but like
Sableye's a bit more common, but if you're playing Ruby, this will be the first time you've seen the Sableye.
Yeah. with the Gloria, I think you said. Sorry, what was her name? The ice one.
Glacier.
Glalie.
Yeah, Glalie, if you didn't get Snow Run and raise it up to 40, which, why would you? Glalie pretty bad
Again,
in Gen
especially
3.
going to Shoal Cave, you might have gone there at the wrong time. For you know, and Salamence, Flygon, Metagross. This is an Elite Four
Because Walrein's actually kind of hard to deal with if like you aren't prepared for it.
because it's water ice.
Yeah, it's quite a hard type to deal with.
Because here's the thing, you get comfortable, you fight like it's a Celo, I think you fight first,
Celio. Yeah, you fight
Yeah.
2 Celios.
and you think, okay, this ain't that bad, Because even with Blaziken,
And
you
then
can
Warring
type a
comes
tank.
out, and you're like, oh word.
Oh, Wolverine's tanky, yeah. Like, I think this is a very challenging because it just because I think it's not. I think it's fair, even if you haven't seen these Pokemon before, because you know the types. You
Yeah.
know roughly the types. And honestly, I found Drake really hard when I
Drake
was
is
younger
pretty hard, yeah.
because just the Pokemon he has, they hit hard.
Yeah. The only thing is, if you went and got Ice Beam or you have Blizzard, Drake's a real easy guy to beat.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I kind of like okay. Is Dark? I forget this. Is Dark type super effective against Ghost?
Yes.
I like how you have Dark Ghost super effective against that, and Ice Dragon super effective against that. It's like kind of cute.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Ghost and Ice don't match up, but
Yeah.
I do like that kind of symmetry there. And
Yeah.
you get Steven, which we've covered earlier. I think pretty good fight, fantastic theme,
Yeah.
and you beat the
Then
game.
obviously in Emerald you fight Wallace, and he just has a team of all water types. He has a Wailord, a Milotic, a Ludicolo,
Oh
a
yeah,
Wishcat,
Ludicolo.
a Tentacruel, and a Gyarados.
God, I forget Gyarados is in the game.
Gyarados is in Gen 3.
Yeah, it's very randomly there. It's not many trainers with it.
No, it's not. And also, you kind of forget about it because you kind of use the old rod in Juford. You maybe pick up a Magikarp, and after that, you just kind of allow it and go, no, we don't need that anymore.
Yeah, like after that, champion things like cool, great. Ruby Sapphire, obviously, like I said, the side content you go through the.
Ruby Sapphire only get the Battle Tower after that.
Yeah, because there isn't much side content that you unlock after beating the game. It's already all there.
Yeah.
But in Emerald, they start like bringing little things like obviously you can get the other fossil.
Yes, you can get the other fossil. Oh, that's the thing that's at the back of that cave that I was thinking of.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and then they do the thing with Kyogre and Groudon where you can catch both of them, but they appear randomly. They have set locations of where the caves
You
are.
like go, yeah. There are a few locations that they can appear in, but where they are is pretty random in what order they show up.
Yeah, you
in
just
is
need to
random.
watch the TV basically.
No, you go to the Weather Institute. You go to the Weather Institute and you talk to them.
They just tell you where it is. I assume that's not an internal clock thing. I assume that's just an RNG
No.
thing.
That just happens.
Yeah, because I assume it's programmed like the Latias Latios stuff.
Yes, it is.
But then, obviously, to get to the Battle Frontier anyway, on top of that, which is fantastic, you take the boat, which you couldn't for the whole game. It's lovely. We didn't talk about the boat in Gen 2, but that was like a nice little thing. It's just basically your victory lap.
Yep.
And
then you arrive at the Battle Frontier, and I think the Battle Frontier in Emerald is one of the best.
I haven't played the Gen 4 one, but I cannot
So-
praise the Gen 3 one enough.
So the Gen 4 one doesn't actually have any areas where you can kind of go and explore stuff. So the Gen 3 one has Artesian Cave, which gives you, even though you've got some of them before, you get a bunch of I can't remember what it's called, stat boosting items. And then after
Smeargle.
that, you can catch Smeargle. If you have a fresh water, Pseudo-Wudo.
Yeah.
And that is when in Emerald, that's when the Safari Zone opens up a new area full of Gen 2 Pokemon. And you can go to the Safari Zone and catch a bunch of Pokemon there.
Yeah, and it's great. And then you get to the real meat of post game, which is the good old Battle Frontier.
Battle Frontier.
Battle Tower's okay. It's just your standard
Battle Tower
battle.
is a bunch of fights in a row. There's the Battle Pyramid, which is actually very much a survival strategy game, which is very, very unique.
I like it quite a bit.
There's the Battle Palace, which is arguably the worst one. The Battle Palace is
Is it
the Palace? It's the one where that your Pokemon just choose their own moves.
Oh, the guy with it, the old man. Yeah, that one's kind of a
the
bit
Battle
boring.
Pike. Battle Pike's the easiest one to beat because if you get good RNG in Battle Pike, you can run through and fight the Frontier Brain without getting into any other fights.
That's the only one I've actually got the gold on.
There is the Battle Dome,
which is the one where it's like
Yeah, the battle dome is very much like the battle tower, but you get to see what Pokemon you have, and you own in. I think it's two
You have
Pokemon you take in.
you have a set of three. You pick two of them.
Yeah. And then you
Factory,
have the Battle Factory, which is my favorite one
the rental
because
Pokemon. Yeah.
the rental Pokemon. There's so much strategy that you can have, and such quick decision making of which Pokemon you choose to keep and get rid of.
Mm. My other favorite
Um,
one though is actually I can't remember the name of it annoyingly, but it's the 3-turn one.
oh, the Battle Dojo.
Yeah, I love that one so much. It was I got the
Yeah,
silver on that one.
yeah, yeah. The one which functions actually like a, it's kind of like a karate match or a boxing match, where like you play for 3 turns and then you play for three. Yeah, it's kind of like boxing. You play for 3 rounds like a boxing match, as in 3 turns Pokemon, 3 rounds, and then if no one has died or fainted, the game then judges you on offense, defense, and another thing. I think it's offense, defense, and I think it's offense, defense, and style or something, or
Style,
something
yes,
stupid. And then basically whoever wins that battle.
and it's best of three.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
it's until one person runs out of Pokemon.
yeah, I think that's just. I think those are also well varied. I think the obvious things is like the battle dome and the pyramid
Yeah.
because they're obviously there's too many similarities between those and like obviously like the dome and the tower and the pyramid and the pike.
Yeah.
But I remember like reading Nintendo official magazine, seeing the map of the Battle I was like, I am ready for this.
Yeah, I'm ready for this.
I like I can't explain the upgrade to Emerald. Like mechanically optimizing it graphically, it was like 10% better, and it was like okay because
Yeah.
it took Fire Red Leaf Green's what do you call it animations. Like
Yeah.
that's when they introduced the like little shine when the Pokemon was like caught. Because Ruby
Yeah.
Sapphire, the Pokemon just sit there like, to get it, son.
And then you're there going, did it catch?
Are you in there, son?
Yeah.
Yeah, and God, I want to go back and get all the gold Battle Frontier symbols, but I also know
Yeah.
that's going to take a long time because you basically need to set a
You
team
actually have to do a bunch of breeding and you have to EV train.
or get incredibly lucky, but like, no.
It is much better to EV train.
Yeah. In terms of like other things though, Emerald also had a couple of event Pokemon, which is like something that was
Yes.
touched upon in Crystal, but this game had two sets. So it had Deoxys, which is
It
an
had
island where you did
Deoxys,
like a
yeah, or it had the
puzzle.
other one of Latias or Latios, which is the Eon ticket. And another one was if you had the additional disc for Pokemon Colosseum, which came with specific versions of it, you could get a one Jirachi per so far.
There was also getting a Mew, which was Japan only,
Yeah, that was
where you went
Japan
to a
only event.
faraway island, and there was one where you went to like I think it's 8 Island, from which is a reference to Sevi Islands, where you can get Ho and Lugia,
Yeah,
which was like, for the time, this was like, oh my god, because they all had
yeah.
different music and everything. And even the Mew one, you chase it around and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Emerald, it, even just talking about it now has made me like really want to play it. Yeah, and that's not even all of Gen 3. That's the scary bit. That's just the trio game.
That's just Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Like we spoke last week about Gen 1 and Fire and Leaf Green. I feel like are the definitive versions of Gen 1
Yes, I do as
because
well.
they put in the Gen 3 mechanics. Snappy. They took out the bugs of Gen 1. It looks beautiful. They add in some quality of life stuff. They like gave Teachy TV.
Yep.
Oh, before we quickly go on to that, Emerald was the first game to introduce gym leader rematches, which is another post-game feature.
Oh yes.
And
They're random
it's
when they
lovely.
show up, but when they show up, you get and they have 4 rematches, and they have a stronger team every time you go and face them again.
And it just these minor little things made the game way more interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fire Red Leaf Green. The music was incredibly good. I know there's a lot of people who don't like it because they changed little things here and there, like balance.
Yeah.
But quality of life, I think it's just so much better. It's way
Yeah.
more fun, and it even has a post game because once you get to
Yeah, they even add in the Sevi Islands, and you can either go, you can go, and after you beat Blaine, the game you can say yes to go to Sevi Islands and start the side quest of Sevi Islands.
yeah, I think
And
the
then
game
once
actually
you beat,
forces
and then
you
once
to
you
do
get to
it.
post game, that's when you start going into that where you can collect the Ruby and Sapphire, which lets you then trade with
Ruby and Sapphire.
Gen 3.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit on the nose.
Yeah.
But like, the thing is like, the game gates you from it until you catch 60 Pokemon, which I found was a very strange requirement.
It's the national dex it gates you with.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
You
like
have to get the national dex. The
no,
national dex
yeah,
wants you to get 60 Pokemon. That game is full of Fire and Leaf Green are full of rewards for filling the Pokedex. Like if you like by Pewter City, there's a guy that gives you I think it's the item finder for 15. You can get the EXP share for 30, and then I think Oak is the next one from that. But basically, throughout the game, you can talk to his professors, and they give you rewards based on how many Pokemon you have caught.
yeah. It was in Gen 1 as well, where they adjusted it obviously for Gen 3.
Yeah.
Because in Gen 3, Gen like 1, it was like if you had 50, you got the XP all or something daft.
Yeah.
But like the game gates you from going to 4 Island or anything until you get the national dex. Because obviously
the guy doesn't tell you about 4 Island and the rest of them until you get national dex, and then you get additional events with Lorelei. You get more. You can get Gen 2 Pokemon. You can catch all the unknown in Fire and Leaf Green.
And best of all, once you complete all this, do you know what you get? Elite 4 round 2.
Yeah.
You get more stuff with Team Rocket.
Yep, you get more stuff with Team Rocket. You get a stronger Elite 4. And this is before you even thought about going and catching Mewtwo either. Like Mewtwo is available once you beat the game.
I thought it was Elite 4 round 2 you had to beat to get it.
I think it's the first time you go through the game.
I want to have a quick look, to be honest.
I don't remember which way around it was.
Because I remember they made it very random of when you could get it.
Yeah, it might be unlocking the national dex when you can do it, but yeah.
I want to have a quick look on that one, because like, there isn't much to say on that because of how much we exhausted on Gen last week.
Yeah.
But like, God, they're so much better. They even added in the daycare.
Yeah.
Legendary Pokemon. They even added in roaming legendaries from Gen 2.
Yep, and you can catch one of the roaming legendaries.
Yeah, you can't get to Mewtwo and Leo with National Dex. I do find that, I guess because it's in the game's idea is you've got unlocked post game.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's loads of stuff in that, and I really liked it. One of the things we haven't mentioned is the trainer tower, which is just kind of a mini battle tower.
Yeah, it's not very good though, in all honesty.
Yeah, it was made for
the only
basically.
Difference is that you can use items between battles in that because the game doesn't heal you.
It's more meant for like this e-reader kind of stuff, which was more Japan exclusive.
Yeah, because we didn't get all the e-reader stuff.
Where you could like basically get different like rooms and things.
Yeah.
I'm kind of happy we didn't get that because that would have been a pain in the ass.
Well, yeah, I don't have an e-reader thing.
No, I don't think we got them over here at all.
Yeah.
I just would have been like, no, I don't want that trend. It's just DLC.
That DLC though.
Yeah, and I feel like I am missing a few things on Fire Red Leaf Green.
I don't know, but yeah, the thing is with Fire and Leaf Green is it's very much just Gen 1, but but as Gen 3. So half the stuff we said about it last week would
Apply.
very much apply in terms of like what we like and dislike about it. Like the main differences come from just the general mechanics of the generation rather than the region that it takes place in.
Mm. Um, I guess from that, that's like, I would like probably say, like, if we've gone from the ranking of these so far, I would go and give probably put Gen 1 at the bottom so far, then oh, it's very difficult, then Fire Red Leaf Green, then Gold Silver Crystal, then Emerald, like
Yeah,
from bottom to top, because
I would probably put Gen 2 under Fire Red Leaf Green, but that's just me.
yeah, I think I just have the nostalgia
I'm
goggles.
quite a Gen 3. I'm quite a Gen 3 lad, so
Hmm. Same here, and I think part of my thing with like, obviously, I think you know that I don't particularly like Hard Gold Soul Silver as much as the original,
yeah,
and I think that's largely because of, like I said earlier, the shiny gold ROM hack. But
yeah,
you give me Gen 4, sorry, give me Gen 2 and Gen 3's engine, I'm never gonna want to go back.
yeah.
But yeah, there are there's still 4 more games to cover in this, and we'll quickly get one out of the way here. Pokemon Box, did you ever use it?
No, I
I
never had it.
I used it to play Ruby and Sapphire on it, and that's about it.
Yeah, I never had it.
And it was like really weird because I'm actually gonna look it up right now, but like the rewards for doing it were really stupid. Like
Yeah,
you had to put like 1,500 Pokemon or something to get like a special Pokemon.
yeah,
Because I'm pretty confident. I think that might have been the one where it gave you the special gift eggs. There we go. So yeah,
yeah.
it gave you Pichu at 1,499 Pokemon deposited.
Let me just give you a Pichu real quick.
No, no,
Oh,
with
we didn't mention this earlier,
with
but
Surf.
yeah, um, with the baby Pokemon that we mentioned for Gen 2, Pikachu's line gets an exclusive move if you catch one with the Light Ball item.
Oh, an Emerald, yes.
It gets a Volt Tackle
Oh,
as
I've
as
never got
a
that.
Pichu, which is pretty hilarious because it's a physical move, and the Volt and like the Light Ball actually made Pikachu a lot more competitively viable than Raichu in a lot of cases. That's not the case anymore. Raichu's a lot better than Pikachu just because Pikachu was always really frail. So Pikachu was never amazing, but just having its own kind of niche was hilarious and like,
Mhm.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, Pokemon Box was basically a test for what Home and what's the other one called?
Bank.
Bank. What they would basically become,
Yeah.
and they sold it by basically being a way to play the game. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
even though the Game Boy Player was already a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but then they also bundled it in with special versions of Colosseum,
Yeah. Well, they
which
gave it. Yeah, I was gonna say that it came with Colosseum, didn't it?
mm,
In a lot of cases, like by itself, it's such a pointless game. If like because like it's really hard to fill up all the boxes in a Pokemon game. Even in the modern games where people do a lot of breeding, it's still hard to fill up the Pokedex,
yeah, like
the boxes.
the most I've ever caught in a game is a where I've caught like 350.
Yeah, and the most I've caught is like in Platinum where I nearly did fill up the thing
Jeez.
the Pokemon box, but it was never enough to fill it the entire way up.
Mm. Speaking of things that aren't pointless, the Ore duo.
Yeah,
Colosseum, from memory, was obviously, yes, it is just basically a 3D battle simulator with a light RPG elements, but it was
yeah.
everything I wanted.
The whole Shadow Pokemon idea is fantastic. I really wish they did more, but they never did anything else outside of those two games of it, and it was really, really disappointing for me because the whole idea of snagging your opponent's Pokemon, something that you were told was bad in the games, is your main way of getting Pokemon because in Ore there's no wild Pokemon.
Mm. And basically, the whole thing with that is these games weren't made directly by Game Freak,
Yeah, they were made by Genius Sorority.
who actually do the mobile games now.
Yeah,
I think they do Masters or Shuffle or something,
yeah,
and that's a shame because these games are kind of what everyone set the floor for 3D
yeah,
games. This is what they wanted the 3D battle games to be at a
yeah.
minimum. As in, like,
Yeah, the amount of content in these games as well was ridiculous, even considering the lack of Pokemon in them
oh
for
yeah,
you to catch.
they already have like 100 Pokemon in them.
Less than that in Colosseum, I think.
Colosseum, okay, XD was like in the 80s, I think,
Yeah.
and Colosseum was like
XD had a
50.
lot of Pokemon for you to catch, but then,
Colosseum
like,
was like 50 to 60,
yeah,
and obviously Colosseum is a lot more rough around the edges. It's a lot tougher,
yeah.
and there is
When
even
the
the
game
glitch.
when like in the beginning game, you don't have much in terms of shadow Pokemon until the game throws an Entei at you, and then after that it goes, oh, BT Dubs, here's a Ledian for you.
Yeah, yeah. The game base you have to rely on your like starters.
Like his thing, the game makes using Jumpluff look worth it in game,
Mm.
which is kind of like an impressive feat in all honesty.
Yeah, and even beyond that, it's actually quite tough regardless.
Yeah,
Especially the final gauntlet in that game was very tough.
yeah,
And like I'm kind of covering Colosseum and XD together because they're very spin-offy and short as
they're
well.
very very similar, and their whole kind of gimmick is catching shadow Pokemon. Their stories are very much generic. Evil team does evil thing, you go stop them.
Yeah,
There's no gyms. It's all kind of story driven. On every city you go to, or every place you go to, is in a reaction to what the evil team happens to be doing.
and this is kind of why when people said when they said in Gen 7 gyms were going away, I was like, if you do it like this, I'm happy.
Yeah, but in Gen 7 they kind of left gyms there.
Yeah, I know.
They
It's
just
like
called them something else.
I just wish that like you don't need gym to make a good Pokemon game.
Yeah,
Th- They're good. They're very good staples, and I get that. That's why people. That's why they jump back to them in Gen 8 because people don't like change.
yeah.
But at the same time, you can make a structured game regardless. Because XD, XD took the core principles of Colosseum and just hi Bog, my cat wanted to say hi. Took the basically the mechanics of Colosseum and just fine tuned it, gave it much better selection. A lot more battles actually, a lot more
Yeah.
locations. They actually kind of made something that I really loved, and
Do you want to know
XD.
what do you
Go
want to know what my favorite part about XD is?
go on.
Robo Groudon.
I was actually gonna bring that up. That was like the most
I love
random
Robo
thing.
Groudon because it's such a hot meme that this guy's like, I've got the most powerful robot Pokemon, and then he just throws Pokeballs with Pokemon out at you.
You know you know what that reminds me of Lusamine in Gen 7.
Yeah,
Where you're like, oh what? Oh, I actually get to fight Lusamine. Lusamine wants to battle. Oh
yeah,
yeah, like. And then the funny thing with that is because obviously you drive in the Kyogre later in the game.
yeah. You do. You get it's the Kyogre one.
Which,
You get Robo Kyogre
which
later to go to the
because
island.
when I was a kid, I was like, there has to be like a, there absolutely has to be a Rayquaza. I can't say it. Rayquaza
Yeah,
one, but no. Like, XD, XD was a lot harder early game than Colosseum was, but like, the
yeah.
peak of the.
Colosseum's got a harder late game than XD does
Mhm.
because XD you have a lot more fights.
Yeah, and they fine tuned a lot of things like purifying, because purifying in Colosseum is a pain.
Yeah, you have to just walk around.
Yeah.
In XD, they were like, "Oh, here's the Purify Chamber," so it takes 2 seconds
Mm.
to do all of them.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and even the story was honestly a bit better in XD.
Yeah,
I know it was a bit more generic Pokemon, but it was like,
I do like. Well, my favorite part about XD is what the original story might have been from rumors and other stuff I've seen,
okay, go
where
on.
like Wes would have Wes actually was going to be the villain of XD, where like he everything you do in Colosseum was to take out the Cipher leader so he could then take over,
Yeah,
and
I
then you
could
spend
see that.
XD hunting him down, but then obviously they don't want you to have to they didn't want, oh, you're a child, so you shouldn't have played as a villain of that magnitude
But you
throughout
weren't a
throughout an
child
entire
in
game.
you weren't a child though in that game, in Colosseum.
No, but that's what I no, but obviously Pokemon's a family friendly game, so
Yeah.
they didn't want to.
I guess the other question of that would have been what would have happened to the girl.
Yeah, exactly. Ruby, whatever her name was.
I mean, they could have just incorporated her as part of the villain thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy with XD as it was.
yeah, so am I.
Because I still like the old man basically being the villain. Because I know he was obviously he was blatant villain when you see him, but it's like,
Oh yeah, he was made the villain as soon as like you saw him. You're like, oh, this guy's the main villain
hmm,
because they did that before with the mayor of the first town you visit in Colosseum.
yeah, absolutely. But in XD, like in XD, it's just the journey you go through is pretty fun.
Yeah.
And
One
honestly,
thing XD doesn't have over Colosseum is your bike's much cooler than Colosseum.
oh, it's like you have the little fucking scooter and sorry, hacking a
Yeah.
scooter in XD. It's like okay, but in Colosseum, like you have I think until you meet the girl, like the first couple of times, you actually have Umbreon and Espeon. Doesn't it show them both being in the thing?
Yeah, they're like both in the little sidecar.
And then they just change it to being the girl.
Yeah, it's Ruby in every other one, which
Hmm.
is why. But Ruby's needed because she can see shadow Pokemon.
Yeah.
West can't see shadow Pokemon, and that's like where the whole detection system comes in from XD, where he has the little machine that tells him when there's a shadow Pokemon.
Hmm.
Running around with Ruby is pretty annoying though. Having two people like walking around,
Dun 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 dun
but you
dun
can leave
dun.
her behind. It's pretty funny actually.
Oh
You can
yeah,
get her.
yeah. Because obviously it was. I think that's obviously why they didn't do that in XD. Because that was very very dodgy. Because like in the under, you could just leave her at the other side of the map.
Yeah, easily you could just leave her there.
Yeah. And the other one of the big things, honestly, XD and Colosseum have fantastic, absolutely fantastic music.
Fantastic World, sorry.
Music.
Oh yeah, their soundtracks are amazing.
And nothing emphasizes more than our man himself, Mirabee.
Do 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 do.
Yeah, like in Colosseum, he's just a throwaway villain
Yeah, in XD, he's actually probably one of my favorite parts of the entire game.
because they just turn him on. He's like he actually kind of feels like a Yakuza character.
He's also your way of re-getting Shadow Pokemon in XD. Unlike Colosseum, when you miss a Shadow Pokemon in Colosseum, you need to leave the area and come back and refight the trainer.
Mhm.
In XD, if you miss Shadow Pokemon, Mirror B catches them, and you just fight Mirror B over and over again to get them.
Yeah.
Which I much prefer as a kind of more streamlined way of getting it. You just kind of wait for Mirror B to appear, and then you get another chance at it. And then once you purified all other Shadow Pokemon in XD, you get to fight him one final time, and he has a Shadow Dragonite,
Jesus. Yeah.
which is basically your reward. You get given a Dragonite for catching all the Shadow Pokemon.
And when you
Unlike Colosseum, where if you purify all the Shadow Pokemon, you get a Togetic, a level 21, and a chance to go after Ho-Oh by doing Mount Battle.
did you ever do that?
I have done Mount Battle before.
I have never got the Ho-Oh.
I have done Mount Battle before. I did it in XD as well. In XD, if you do it, you get one of the Johto starters, and you can get all three if you decide to do it 3 times, like a masochist.
Oh, okay. No, that's the thing. I think I did the XD one, but not the Colosseum one.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and I do. Shadow Lugia is one of the coolest things to me in Pokemon.
Yes. I actually love the fact that Shadow Lugia cannot be purified via normal means. They made a Shadow Pokemon which whose corruption was so powerful that normal means cannot heal it. So the only way you can purify it is by using the Purify Chamber, which obviously Team Cypher don't know about, which the Cypher
Oh,
guys don't know about.
and the thing actually has to be full.
You have to reach the tempo to max, which basically dictates how fast you can purify Pokemon. If you get the tempo to max, which is perfectly balanced, and put Shadow Lugia in there, he purifies instantly. And I think you have to use the legendary birds in there as well. Like there's some stupid purifying Lugia is actually really 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 interesting because you have to use kind of everything you have at like your disposal inside the purify chamber to actually get it, which is really really nice. And then afterwards you have the battle tower stuff in XD, and you have the place in the middle of the desert, which the game teases you with actually. In XD, you start off in a battle in this kind of desert place, this battle arena in the desert, and you can go there when you finish the game, and that's the hardest set of challenges that you can face.
Oh yeah, I remember doing that. Yeah, like XD also just has like the random like battle puzzle thing, like where you can just use Bonsai.
Yeah,
And this is the game that had Munchlax that pop up at the berry spots.
yeah,
It was very, very between Gen 3 and Gen 4.
yeah,
And yeah, I think I know obviously it's carried by nostalgia, but I do think Gen 3 is one of the best generations of Pokemon. It's held up so well.
yeah. We are very much biased with this because we were Gen 3 kids, but I do agree that I like Gen 3 the most out of nearly every generation. I can't talk.
Mm.
Outside of nearly every single one. The only one that has ever come close is like my first ever playthroughs of Gen 5. I really, really liked. I really enjoyed Gen 5. But over time, Gen 3 is just kind of stuck there as one that I always want to go back to whenever I revisit it.
Yeah, Gen 5 was one of those ones I played Gen 6, so my expectations were low and Gen 5 just blew it out of the water.
Yeah,
Like, you have to go into Gen 5. Okay, okay. You can't go into Black and White 2 expecting it to be like Black and White 1.
yeah, it's completely different.
If you go into it expecting the same kind of story structure and stuff of like how wild that one was, you're gonna
Yeah,
be very disappointed like I was the first time. But if you go in there just going, I want to have a chill time, and basically be like, yo, I want to have the wildest team. The game's like,
yeah,
do it.
yeah. Games like go ahead and have fun, my friend.
Hmm. That's what I really like. Is like in Black and White and Black and White 2, you have a game for everyone. Like you have the story game and you have the game.
Yeah,
But I think that's everything we've got to say on Gen 3, really.
yeah. I think we've covered from pretty much everything.
I will give I will give this Gen a 7.8 out of 10. Too much water.
Too much water.
We will never forgive.
We'll never forgive IGN for that one.
Never ever.
When they gave Ruby Sapphire 9s and then they gave Oras a 7.8 because too much water.
Very disappointing.
Yeah, too much water in the remakes, dude.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Next week will likely be the Gen 4 talk, which will be obviously Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and possibly any other game that came out in that region time
Yeah,
that is worth talking about. Probably Battle Revolution quickly, and
probably. Yeah, very very quickly on that one because that's very much just a one note thing that we can spend 2 minutes on.
exactly. So anyway, thanks for watching. Discord and the thing below as per usual, and same time. I started 9 p.m. 9 p.m. BST. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Later.